Hi there, my name's Sandy from Spiral Crafts and Workshops, and today's tutorial is about wire hooks. So this is to help you to hang your sculptures that you make with tutorials elsewhere on the channel, in your garden, on your fences and things like that. So if you've been through the other tutorials, and there are more coming, so don't forget to subscribe down below and hit the bell, and you'll find out about all the new ones as well. But the bee one's already there, and once you've been through, you end up with a lovely bee sculpture. Now it's what you do with him. Now you can use fishing wire or string to hang him out in the garden, or her. It's possible to use string and fishing wire, but sometimes it's not all that easy. Depends on what your setup is in the garden. So you can make your own hook like this, and a hook will go through the chicken wire, and then literally, and then the angled bit at the top here, there, can go over the fence and hang your sculpture out in the garden for you. Now they're relatively easy to make, they are straightforward anyway, but they are a little bit lightweight, as in they bend a little bit, so I wouldn't use these with heavy items. They'll be okay with the chicken wire sculptures that you'll find out on the channel, because those are fairly lightweight, but I wouldn't make something like this to hang on a pot with or anything that's got soil and flowers in, because it's just not strong enough, unfortunately. If you've got anything else lightweight, then you can make some of these to use with those as well if you want to. And you can make them in different sizes, and they will customise to your own fence dependent on the dimensions of the fence that you've got. So it's perfect really, it fits what you've got right on. So without further ado, I'm going to switch to hands view, and we're going to crack on with tools and materials of what you'll need to make your wire hooks, and then we'll go straight into making the wire hook and get you sorted. So see you soon. What are you going to need? Well, your materials are going to be fairly straightforward, because all you're going to need is a roll of 1mm watt diameter stainless steel wire, and that's it. That's all you need to make your hook. Dead simple. The tools that you need: you're going to need a pair of wire cutters. You want something nice and beefy really. I wouldn't use jewellery wire cutters, because the wire is actually quite hard and it could damage your cutters. So get something nice and beefy for cutting your wire. You need 2 sets of pliers. These I've just got a small set. You'll be using one set all the time, and you might need a second one just to do the final twisting. You need your safety glasses, which of course is paramount. I'm going to just put mine on while we're sitting here. And the other thing you're going to need is a tape measure. I've got a flexible tape measure. I actually find this really useful, but you can use a ruler if you want to. And that's it in the tools and materials department. Let's move on to taking your measurements. Now the measurements are a bit more complicated for this particular project, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flash up a picture of how to do your measuring over your fence. Now it'll vary, the measurements will vary depending on the size of your fence at your home, but I'm going to just make a hook of my dimensions, and then you'll be able to just adapt it to the dimensions that you need and the lengths that you need for your fence at home. So that's coming now. There you go. So just to walk you through that, I'm going to take a little bit of a box. So if this was my fence, then this is the top of my fence, and that is the measurement that you need the most. The width of your fence, or the depth of your fence, or the brick wall, or whatever it is actually the key measurement that you need. So your piece of wire will need to go across the top of your fence. You will need 2 times the length of this distance down here. You will need 2 times the length of this distance down the back, and you'll need a little bit just at the bottom to do the hook. So I'm just going to put the picture back up briefly again, and you'll see the 14 centimetres is up here, that's 2 times the top, 7 centimetres across the top, 2 times the distance down here, 14 centimetres, and a little bit of 5 centimetres just to do the hook bit at the bottom. Okay, come back to that as many times as you need to. Once you've added up your 14, your 7, your 14 and your little bit for your hook, your 5, that all comes to 40. You then need to multiply that 40 by 4. So whatever that measurement out, those measurements all add up to, multiply it by 4. So 40 centimetres times 4 is 160 centimetres. And that's what I'm going to need to make the hook that I'm going to make today. Your measurements will differ based on what this measurement is on the top of your fence. Right, okay, let's get on with cutting the wire and making the hook. Let's get making. We are going to need our wire, and I'm actually going to make the small one today just to compress down the time that it's going to take to make it for you. It's all the same process regardless of the measurements, so you're not going to miss anything out at all. It just takes a little bit longer to make the bigger hook than it does to make the little hook. So you won't miss anything in the making technique at all. To make this one I actually need a piece of wire that is 68 centimetres long. So I'm going to take my big measure and I'm going to put it on my wire, and I'm not actually overly bothered if I'm a little bit out, and I'm going to wrap it round the wire until I get to round about, you can be a little bit out, doesn't matter too much. There's 50, there's 60, there's 8, so I'm going to put it in, that's it, roll that in, right by where my finger is, snip your wire off, keep it covered so it doesn't flip into your face. Okay, put the cutters to one side and you need your pliers now. First thing I'm going to do is just straighten the wire a little, and to do that I just put it between my finger and thumb, and I'm pressing down this way, which is the opposite way to the bend. So I'm going to press down that way, pull the wire through, that's it, and then it just straightens it, as you can see, a little bit better. Turn it round, got the wire right there. So I'm pressing this way, the curl's coming up this way, and hopefully, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we've ended up with a straighter wire. Put your 2 ends together, there, go up to the other end of your wire, through your fingers, pull it down so that you get a bend at the halfway point just there. Then what I'm going to do is cross over the wires like that, get the pliers, and I'm going to push this together like that, so we've got a nice little kink at the top, and I'm going to pull the wires through like this so that we've got this shape. Okay, grab your pliers and hold on to that loop at the end there, and then with your other hand it is a case of, now you see how the wires are now sticking up in all different directions. I'm just twisting the wires like that together all the way down. It is better if you can keep an angle here on the wires so that they twist together, so that you're not just you haven't just got a straight wire and you're twisting one wire around it, because you get a neater twist if you do with the two wires sticking out like this at 45 degrees. But you have got the other ends of your wire here waving around a lot, and they can smack you in the face. So be careful, get your glasses on if you haven't already, and keep safe. So I'm just twisting all the way down the length of wire, holding it with your pliers, twisting with your hands. Now I'm going to go quiet for a while because I'm going to speed this up. Right, so I'm coming to the end now. It is better, I have got a slight hole there. If you can sort of pull it tight enough to keep as many holes as possible out, that's often a better way to do it. It will look a little bit, it'll be a bit stronger. Just keep going with your twisting. Move your pliers down as you get further down the wire. Be careful because these are going to be sharp. So towards the end, it's quite useful to bring your other set of pliers in, because you can rotate it that way then yourself a little bit. But I'm actually going to trim this. I'm not going to fight it too much because I know it gets sharp on your fingers. And I'm actually going to just press. See, it's in a little bit of a fork at the moment, so I'm just going to bring them so that they're up together like that. So they're now in a straight line. And I'm going to get my cutters and cut the long length off so they're both the same length. Pop my hand over, don't touch the pliers with your hand. You've got your glasses on anyway, but the wire still can ping up. That one hasn't, thankfully, so I'm just going to break that off. So I've got a straight bit at the end, and then you can go in with the pliers and just fold it up like that, so that you've got a nice gentle loop on the end. And then it's a case of just pinching the wires so that those nasty pointy bits are tucked in and not going to grab you on a later date. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So that's the end. So that's stage one, to get it to the first twist like that. Stage two is the same thing really. So take your wire, roll it round like that, and bring your ends together at this end as close as possible as you can now. And then run your fingers up the length of the wire to bring it up to the halfway point, like that. So it's exactly the same again. Take your pliers and pinch. Sometimes it's easier just to get it started, to cross your wires and pull them together like that. And then pinch this at the top to make it nice and small. That's it. So that's together. And then you've got your V shape again. I've straightened this out a little bit. If it's got a few kinks in it, just straighten it out like that. And then really it's the same process again. I'm going to go quiet and go through it. This is a little bit quicker the second time around when you've got your shorter piece, but I'll speed it up anyway so you can just see what's happening. Okay, I'm coming to the end again, so I'm just going to twist, and as I say, sometimes this is the point where, put those down again, this is normally the point where the other set of pliers come in useful. So you can hold on there and twist together like that, just to tighten everything up, and then just neaten off your ends and squeeze those. That really, so that you've got a nice end piece. Now that piece I would recommend goes over the back of the fence. So if this is your fence and this is the top, this goes over the back and this comes through the front, because this is a nicer piece of metal, a nicer shape. And really now it's a matter of, I'm just going to tidy that up a little bit more, and it's just a matter of, there we go, bending your wire into the shape that you want it to be. So if I take my board rubber that I've got here, and I want to, that's my fence now, and I want to hook it over, then I've already measured this distance here, so I know what this distance needs to be. So I measure twice that distance, then one distance, then two distances, and then the hook on the end. So just making it up as we go along a little bit, you would say that would be, with your big example, this one, with your 7 centimetres across the top, you'd measure 14 centimetres up here and put a bend in at right angles. Then you'd measure your 7 centimetres across the top and put a bend in, say somewhere there. Then you would measure your 14 centimetres down here, and it should be level with this point on the other side, and you put a bend in that's a bit more than 90 degrees, so that you've got that hook shape on the ends that you can hang your items on. Now it might be a bit wobbly at this stage, so you can straighten it out. You want it all in the same plane so it sits flat, and then just pull this down because it's still slightly pliable. Like I say, these don't really take heavy weight, and that's it. That's all you need to do. It's 2 sets of twisting, a little bit of ply work to make sure your ends are tucked in, and a little bit of ply work to put your bends in for the fence that you've got. So I'm now going to switch to top view, headshot, and you can have a quick demo of what you do with your hook once you've got it. Well done, you've made your hook and you're ready to get this out into the garden now. So what do you do? Now if you imagine, if you would, I've got 2 boxes just to simulate what a fence might look like. So if you can imagine a fence coming along like this, along here, and you've made your hook to fit over perfectly to the dimensions of your fence, and it's hanging down with your hook sticking out like that. You would then take your sculpture, I've just got one of the ball sculptures, and you'd hook through the chicken wire and suspend it like that against your fence. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. And it might come off in wind. You could always just wrap a bit of wire around it to make sure it doesn't come off in the wind. But you can move your ball around or your sculpture around to get whatever angle looks best to you from a distance. Probably best to look at it from a distance. And that's it. It can come off when you're ready, you can go back on, and you can make them whatever size you need to fit your fence outside. Now one last tip before I go is, if you want to hang your sculpture onto a glossy surface like glass, if you do the Christmas balls and you surround them with light, you might want to hang them in a window somewhere, and the sucker hooks like these are absolutely brilliant for doing that. Just sucker your hook onto the window and you can hang your sculpture off the bottom of that. I can show you just like that, and it'll sit on your window and light it up all night if you want it to. So that's the hooks for hanging your sculptures out in the garden. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. If you like the video, give us a like and a thumbs up down below, and a subscribe, and hit the notifications button if you want to hear about new tutorials that are coming up. There are definitely more in the pipeline and on the way. And until next time, take care.